Here's the Creeks in lower Alabama, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and the other ones, the Johnny-come-latelys of all the Native Americans were here in Florida, called the Seminoles. These were the 5 Native Americans had a spoken language, but they did not have a written language. Now this fella, I told you that Battle of Horseshoe Bend, he was there. He's a Cherokee. His name is Pig's Foot. He had injured his foot in a hunting accident, and they made fun of him. They ridiculed him, Pig's Foot. And that Sequoia, he was a real interesting fella, and they were making fun of him. How can you make a written language? And he worked on this for 12 years, being ridiculed and laughed, but he had a vision, and he kept working on it and working on it. He goes to a powwow, and the chief gives him a speech. He says, I dare you to give a speech, and I'll write it down and read it back to you. And they says, no way in heck you can do that. Well, the chief gave a speech, a long speech. Sequoia wrote it down in his new alphabet with 86 characters, repeated it back to the chief. They're going, my God, you did something here. You know how long it took the average Cherokee to learn that alphabet? It cost some money, and the white man, the French white man that paid his way was named Elias Boutineau, so he took on the same name to pay him respect for the guy that got him his education. So they did that a lot, and I'll tell you another story later on. So Elias Boutineau was a smart Cherokee that went north to Cornwall, Connecticut. Now, he's a young man, and what do young men like? Young women. So he goes up there and he gets married to a Yankee. And the people at Cornwall are going, I don't know if this is happening. And another guy followed him, John Ridge, and did the same thing, and they stopped the Cherokees from getting educated. The Cherokee nation is an independent nation. No white people have the right to go into that country except unless the Cherokees assent to that idea themselves. The Cherokees had won in the U.S. Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. They were jubilant. We had beat the white man at the white man's game. We beat him in the Supreme Court. Jackson. And he said, he snickered, well, Chief Justice made his decision. Too bad he hasn't had the power to enforce it. Now, if you know about the 3 branches of government, who does the enforcing? The president, the executive branch. The president goes to war. The president, he wasn't going to enforce the Supreme Court's decision. Decided not to do it. We just won, but he didn't do it. He ignored the law of the Supreme Court. And what could Marshall do? He doesn't have an army. The president has the army. He cannot enforce the law. Even though the Cherokees had played by the white man's rules, won in the white man's basketball game, the President of the United States was not going to honor that decision by the Supreme Court. Fight in Congress. And he's a movie in Daniel, I think Fess Parker played, Davy Crockett was a little guy, not even 5'8". And all these guys that played him in the movies were Fess Parker, 6'6", John Wayne, and Johnny Cash. But Davy Crockett was really in real life a small guy. He stood up to Andrew Jackson and said, Andrew Jackson, I was behind you, I'm not anymore. You stink, you're doing the wrong thing to the Native Americans, you know you are. And Jackson, and he didn't win election in Tennessee. He was 3-time congressman in Tennessee. 4th time he ran, he got beat. And he says, I tried to do my best for Indian affairs before Jackson and for a long time. And he said, you know, I think there's a practicality that we have to move the Native Americans on the other side of the Mississippi River. Jackson says, agreed. And he said, you know, but we have to treat them with dignity and honor. And Jackson said, I don't agree. You're fired. He's a Cherokee. Does he look like a Cherokee? Not really. Yeah, a little bit of features. But anyway, he was a tough fighter. He was a Native American that thought like a white man. And he gave him the name Ridge because he could see on mountaintops. He could see far away. He was farsighted. Ross was short-sighted. Ridge was farsighted. You know, I always look back at history and thinking, what could the Cherokees have done differently so this wouldn't have been so bad? And I have come up with an answer to what you just said there. They were the most educated Native Americans out there. But in my humble opinion, this is just me talking, they weren't quite educated enough. 2 years to leave after the treaty was signed. The treaty was 5 months later, went to Congress, May of 1836. And it was only ratified by 1 vote. Even I'm kind of surprised at that. As you know, there were some good people in Congress that said even though they had a treaty and it was a forced upon treaty, almost 1%, by one person, Congress said, this is a wrong thing we're doing to the Cherokees. Let's not do it. And it only passed by 1 vote, which meant that almost half of Congress was against it. My hat's off to them. That was the right thing. That was a good thing to be against something. There's some true stories here. And I know this is one, I'm sure it happened more than once. They were crossing the river in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and 2 Cherokee children had lost both of their parents, and some white folks saw them. and said, "Come here, we'll take care of you," and took them home. And there's some nice heartwarming and their blemishes, and we have more than enough. Slavery, Trail of Tears. We acknowledge it. What makes this country better than a lot of places I've been in South America is over time we said, we did something wrong to these people. Let's admit it, own up to it. And when we do that, we're in a better place. Don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-American or anything else. I think one of the strengths of this country is we acknowledge when we've done something wrong, and we will do it again. That the Native Americans in this country, per capita, contribute more to our military than any other ethnic group. More casualties, more heroes, more folks from Native American heritage than any other heritage per capita in the United States. The Native Americans have contributed much to our country, especially in our military. They are a warrior mentality, but it's an honorable warrior mentality. And